What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network, the channel dedicated to providing you with competitive Pokemon TCG content. Today I'm going over my Buzzwole, Lycanroc, and Ninetales list. This is actually the exact list I played at Roanoke. My ending record was pretty poor. I finished at a 3-4 drop, but it wasn't the list's fault, and I didn't misplay. I didn't dead draw. I lost to some close matchups, a couple poor matchups that were very, very hard to win. But we're not going to focus on that, just looking at the list, why I have certain cards in here, why I like the deck, so on and so forth. So we're starting out with 2-2 Alolan Ninetales. Alolan Vulpix Beacon is a very nice part of the line, because for free we can use Beacon, search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Also, it's only 1 retreat, and it's a water Pokemon, which means we can search it out with Brooklet Hill. So, overall, very great starter to have, basic form of Ninetales to have. Then we have 2 of the new Alolan Ninetales GX from Lost Thunder with Mysterious Guidance. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 item cards, reveal them, put them into your hand. Amazing ability, very, very good. 200 HP. Onto its attacks, Snowy Wind, very colorless. It does 70 and 30 split, 30 to one of the bench Pokemon. And then Sublimation GX if your opponent's Pokemon is an Ultra Beast that is knocked out. That's for the same cost as Snowy Wind. Overall, an amazing card. I'd say it's tied with Ditto as the best card in the set. This might be... I might favor this one a little more over Ditto, though. It's just an amazing card with a really great ability that can search out crucial items. It has a good resistance in Dark type. 200 HP is not bad at all for a stage 1. Fairy is hitting some things like Rayquaza and Ultra Necrozma for weakness, which isn't huge, but it's relevant to mention. Then we have Snowy Wind doing 70-30, which because we're playing a spread deck, sort of, we have Buzzwole Jet Punch already spreading some damage around. Snowy Wind's extra 30 damage is nice as a little ping to help out later on for taking some knockouts. So really great card, which is really giving an extra bit of power to the BuzzRock archetype that we already had. I'm playing 2 Baby Buzzwole with Sledgehammer. When your opponent's at 4 prizes, it does 120 for 1 energy, and Swing Around's also pretty good when you have B-String to accelerate energy onto it. We're playing 3 Buzzwole GX, 190 HP fighting, Jet Punch 30-30, Knuckle Impact 160, but we have so many damage modifications, and an Absorption does a ton of damage, but I'm usually using Bloodthirsty Eyes or Sublimation GX as my GX attack. Then we have 1 Diancie, because when it's on the bench, you're fighting Pokemon do 20 more damage. And we have a 2-2 Lycanroc line. Lycanroc's here for its Bloodthirsty Eyes ability, which you get to choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon and bring it up to the active. Also here for Dangerous Rogue, 50 for every... it does 50 damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Claw Slash is a good attack. It's fairly efficient, but we don't use it as much in this deck because we're not playing double colorless energy. But very good card. Then we have 1 Marshadow Let Loose, just an extra way to draw cards if you've used your supporter for the turn. And it's also a nice disruption if your opponent has just beaconed, or you know that they have a big hand, you want to try to disrupt them because next turn is going to be pretty crucial. Or like I said, you just need to draw more cards and try to hit something. The Let Loose is a very good ability. Same effect as Judge. When you play it down, each player shuffles their hand into their deck and draws 4 cards. Lastly, for Pokemon, we have 2 Tapu Lele GX. For its Wonder Tag ability, Energy Drive every now and again, but not as often as other decks might use it because we are not playing with double colorless energy. Onto the trainers, we have 3 B-String, very great card. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy and attach them to one of your Ultra Beasts. You can only play this card if your opponent has exactly 3 or 4 prize cards remaining. So Alolan Ninetales GX will often be searching out a B-String. Since it's such a crucial card, we don't have to play 4 because we are playing the 2/2 Alolan Ninetales. So chances are you can either draw into Beast Ring naturally or search it out with Ninetales, and you don't need the 4th copy. One Max Potion is something I'll get to in a little bit on why it's in here, but it heals all damage from a Pokemon, and then you discard all energy from that Pokemon. One multi-switch is very nice. We're playing 5 special energy, that's why it's not an energy switch, it's a multi-switch instead. It's very nice to have a Sublimation GX come out of nowhere, or Beast Ring onto a Buzzwole, and then allocate that energy somewhere else, maybe for a Claw Slash or Bloodthirsty Eyes. That can be a bit of a surprise because of the multi-switch. Also worth noting that this multi-switch is a one-of and easily findable by Mysterious Guidance if you need it. One Rescue Stretcher in case we need to get a Pokemon back. We're playing multiple cards of everything but the Diancie because we can only have one, and Marshadow because we usually only ever need one. But the Rescue Stretcher is still nice to get back something from the discard pile. It could be an extra out to something like a Ninetales, where if you need to hit one for your Beast Ring and one's in the discard, the Rescue Stretcher becomes an extra out to it, or whatever other Pokemon you may need. We have 2 Switch. It's really nice to move your Pokemon around. This deck used to play a ton of Float Stones. We don't have that in Standard anymore, so we're playing some Switches. Also, another item that Mysterious Guidance can fetch out for us. 4 Ultra Ball, which is pretty standard as our Pokemon search. We have 3 Brooklet Hill, because that can search out anything in our deck other than Lele and Marshadow, which we wouldn't want it to search out anyway. 1 Acerola, like the Max Potion, I'll get to that later, but it's a supporter card that put one of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it and all cards attached to it into your hand. So it's like Max Potion in the fact that it heals, but you pick up the Pokemon and you get to keep everything attached to it. 4 Cynthia, fairly standard, shuffle draw 6, great supporter card. 3 Guzma, we don't need the full 4 since we are playing 2 Lycanroc that can also gust our opponent's Pokemon up. 2 Lily, I would like to have more for consistency reasons, but you don't really need it because we are playing Ninetales to search things out, Cynthia for shuffle draw, and Kukui for extra draw as well. Licia is something that I believe the American lists have adapted over from the Japan lists. There was actually a Japan list from the Tokyo Champions League that played 2 Licia. It's just very, very nice to have Licia turn 1 if you also have a Buzzwole that can attack, because you can search out Diancie Prism and Beast Energy and usually kill whatever small basic Pokemon they have active. So, very useful utility supporter. It loses its usefulness as the game goes on, so I think it's most powerful turn 1. We're playing 3 Kukui. Draw 2 cards. Your Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon this turn. It's a great card because it's a damage modification, which this deck often needs. The deck does put out a lot of damage, but you're also usually relying that you have some sort of damage modifier on your Buzzwoles. So Knuckle Impact 160 isn't one-shotting a lot, but when you go 30 with a Choice Band and then an extra 20 with a Kukui or an extra 20 with a Diancie, that's when you start hitting those really great numbers. And so Kukui is just another way to do that and get you a couple extra cards in the process. Then we have 2 Choice Band. This could easily go up to 3, but I've had to cut a couple things down to make a couple matchups more desirable, which is what the Max Potion Acerola are there for, which I will speak on in just a second. Then we have for energy, 1 Beast Energy Prism, which if it's attached to an Ultra Beast counts as all energy 1 at a time, and your attacks do 30 more damage to the active. 4 Unit Energy, since it can count for either our fighting costs or the fairy costs of Alolan Ninetales, and then 7 basic fighting energy. I will note that the unit energy and fighting energy, it gets tricky. Sometimes you need to wisely choose to attach a unit energy before Cynthia, or just on a turn maybe you think you're going to get judged or let loose. Sometimes you want to make sure your unit energy is getting on board even if it's not for the Alolan Ninetales. Most of the time it's not going to be for the Alolan Ninetales. You have 4 of them. You're not attacking with Alolan Ninetales primarily. It is a good attacker, but it's not your main attacker. But the reason for trying to get unit energy onto the board as opposed to a basic energy if they're both in your hand is because you want the basic energy in your deck so that you can beast string them out. You can't beast string unit energy. So since we're done with the list there, one of the main points I want to go over is the Acerola and Max Pot, which I mentioned. So in testing, Decidueye, Ninetales, Zoroark can really punish this deck by going around their B-string turns. So Decidueye, Ninetales, Zoroark will ideally go something like a Snowy Wind turn 2 with their own Ninetales, knocking out like a Rockruff or Vulpix, or if we had to bench a Marshadow or used it to try to disrupt them, a Marshadow, pinging damage elsewhere with the other Snowy Wind damage and Feather Arrows, potentially setting up multiple knockouts for a future turn. So the Decidueye tries to go from 5 prizes to 2 prizes, taking a 3-turn prize somewhere in the mid-game, so the Buzzwole player does not get to use their B-string. Setting up those attacks, that 3-prize turn from Decidueye, that can be mitigated with Max Potion and Acerola. Now, of course, they could just continue to, after we Max Potion or after we Acerola, they can just start setting the damage down once again. But remember, while we're doing Max Potion and while we're doing Acerola, we're setting up our own board. So we're likely swinging Jet Punch into this Alolan Ninetales or Sledgehammer into this Alolan Ninetales, or even setting up a Lycanroc on deck while they're trying to not take knockouts and just set up this damage strategically. So the Max Potion and Acerola kind of resets a couple, maybe a turn of damage, maybe one Pokemon worth of damage, 1 knockout, 2 knockouts worth of damage. And it can set them back a turn or so, allowing us to get extra damage in. And at that point, they have to decide whether they want to go from 5 to either 4 or 3 prize cards instead of their desired 2, or if they want to continue with their game plan of skipping our B-string turn and allow us to just pile more damage onto their board. Now, like I said, this only works if we're attacking. It doesn't work if we're just sitting there saying pass, then Max Potion, then pass. So it's not an auto win by any means, but it is a nice strategy that I have found to make the matchup much closer than it already was. And I was expecting a lot of Decidueye at Roanoke Regionals, which is why Max Pot and Acerola are in there. It's one of the reasons. If it was only for that matchup, I wouldn't have put both in there. The next matchup that it was for is the Mirror, actually. And I did play the Mirror round 2 against my friend Caleb Bryce. And he did not know about the Max Potion and Acerola. They both caught him off guard. And I believe that the surprise factor and just having the cards in there alone won me games 1 and potentially game 3 in that Mirror match. But in testing, it was absolutely beautiful to have in the Mirror match. Starting out with a Baby Buzz, it was the most desirable start you could have, because you could Sledgehammer them, they Jet Punch you back. You Sledgehammer, they Jet Punch you back. Then you Max Pot or Acerola, then start it all over again. Maybe even Acerola into a Buzzwole and start Jet Punching. In the tournament round 2, like I said, I actually was able, because of using Acerola turn 2 or 3 and then Max Potion the turn after, I was able to set up a 4-prize turn for myself, where I Jet Punched 2 Buzzwoles into knockout range and then finished them off with either a Jet Punch or a Snowy Wind around turn 5 or so. Obviously, the other Buzzwole player can attach multiple energy to one Buzzwole, but then they can lose that Buzzwole out of nowhere if I hit a multi-switch turn or something of the sort. Also, when the opposing Buzzwole player does not suspect healing cards, they play much more differently. So the Max Potion and Acerola were there for 2 matchups, which I consider 2 of the best choices going into the weekend, and 2 of the matchups that I wanted to beat, and the matchups that I thought I would see. Obviously, Max Potion and Acerola are good against anything that isn't one-shotting you, but there are a multitude of one-shot decks in the format, like Blacephalon, for example, some Vika Rays here and there, and Malamar is definitely one-shotting you whenever they can. But yeah, like I said, Max Potion and Acerola were my kind of twist on this list that not everybody uses, really, and I do not regret it at all. I think it's an amazing inclusion, works exactly how I wanted it to. Obviously, it doesn't fix everything. Acerola and Max Pot are not going to help you versus Blacephalon or something like that that's OHKOing you, but it does help a lot in the mirror match when played correctly, and it can help make the Decidueye matchup much closer to the point where I was actually winning more than I was losing in testing. Nothing else in this deck is too special, I'd say. Most of it's pretty standard. The third choice band is something that I cut to fit the Max Pot and Acerola, but you know, you can always find the choice band when you need it with Mysterious Guidance, and you just have to be more careful. There was a lot of practice that went into only playing with 2 choice bands, because you have to be careful about where you put it, when you put it down, and so on. The 2 Buzzwole, baby Buzzwole, instead of 4 big and 1 little. The second baby Buzzwole was for the mirror match, kind of, but it's also for any 1 prize decks you might see around, so that you can kind of play a 1 prize game with them for as long as possible. It's helpful against a few things. It's good against Zoroark Decidueye if they do go from 6 prizes to 4 prizes with a sublimation. You can just Guzma their Zoroark, Sledgehammer, B-String to your Buzzwole GXs on the bench, and then that game is almost won at that point. But I did want to have more than 1 baby Buzz because of how good it is in the mirror match. It's also pretty good against Zoroark, but I don't think you need to change your list for that because that's already a favorable matchup. Nothing else from me here, guys. Hope you enjoyed this deck profile. Make sure you go check out flipsidegaming.com and use code CELIO, all caps, for 10% off of your next order, $10 or more. And also check out the articles I write on there weekly. I haven't been posting PTCGO battles on YouTube, as I've been doing a lot of that gameplay over on my Twitch. So make sure you check out that link in the description below. That's all I have for now. Hope to see you guys next time here on Celio's Network.